Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bonus 101. Here we are on the other side of 100 on our bonus episode time. So were we first introduced to David in this episode?
We were.
Yes. Yeah. Good old Davy. Davy Jones. Nope, that's not his name. But
Davy
his
Crockett.
name is David, and he is a young man in this episode. So we didn't quite know how old he was, but it is interesting.
Really,
yes?
the Bible is more concerned with the fact that he's freaking hot. So it's kind of like, he could be 25, he could be 8. I don't know. Either way, the Bible's like, this boy is hot.
Apparently he was, and I did read in various, like even the Wikipedia article was talking about how attractive David was. So I guess that matters in the Bible in some way. He's like a quarterback, like it makes for a good leader. Like all the quarterbacks are really attractive, I guess. But yeah, mostly from what I found, because I was looking up how old David was when we first met him, and it sounds like most people / scholars / whatever think that he was between the ages of 8 and 15.
When we
Although
first met him.
when we first met him, yes. So yes, we were wondering how old David was when we first met him. And so he's a shepherd boy. He was taming the sheepies or / like shepherding them.
Well, I think the
ye
sheep
old
were
sheepies.
already, I think they were already tame. He was just
He's
kind
just
of
taking care of
minding
them.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Making
he was
sure
taking
there's
care of them.
no,
That was so nice
that,
of him.
there's no wolves or coyotes or large spiders coming along to
Yeah.
eat the sheep.
Jeez.
Well, no,
It's the desert.
So
I don't know.
in one of the things that I read, it was like David had to be able to take down a bear and a lion and a wolf if he was tending to the sheep in this way. And so they were like, he couldn't be that young. And so somebody
Okay.
thought that maybe he was around 17 because of that. But these other articles say that because he's the youngest of 8, and the 3 were old enough to fight in the army, during which time you had to be at least 20 years old. So this says this means that the youngest of the 3 eldest had to be 20. Assuming that they had a son every year after that, the absolute oldest David could have been 15.
This is like a freaking logic puzzle
No,
with
but
it
ages.
is.
But it's a logic puzzle based on faulty assumptions, which is that there was
That's
only
true.
one woman having these children. And we all know that
That's
that is
also
not the
true.
way this goes at this time.
That's true.
Well,
That's true.
yes, that's also true. And it did talk about that. It was just like, oh, well, this is letterpile.com. What the heck? I don't know what this is. But yeah, no, they did talk about the wife thing. And essentially from what I read, it just said, well, there's nothing in the Bible saying that Jesse had multiple wives. So we're
Nothing
thinking
saying
that
he didn't.
I know. You're absolutely right. But that's what I read. So
Interesting.
anyways, they're saying that, but with all of this information, letterpile.com, this particular guy thinks that David was between the ages of 9 and 11. I'm like, okay.
Quite
So
young.
9 and 11, so he was quite young. And apparently, by the time he becomes king, he's 30. But that's later.
That's interesting. Because I'm curious, like, how much time passed between when we first meet him and then when we saw him again. Because it was clear that time had passed,
Yeah.
but we didn't know how much. Was it 5
Yeah.
years, 10 years, a month? Like, we have no idea.
Well, yeah, and I didn't want to read ahead too much because it talked about how old
yeah.
that they thought that he was when he slayed Goliath. But I'm like, no, I'm not there yet.
Right.
These are exciting things, so I need to wait and hold my horses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold your giants in the sky.
Hold your giant. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that.
Oh,
Okay.
boy. Did you get any intel, Emily, on how old he was when he went to be Saul's little harp player / armor bearer / best friend?
Well, okay, fine. I will spoil that they thought that he was 20 when he slayed Goliath, so it was between the ages of 8 to 15 to 20. But it doesn't say,
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't say when. So that's a pretty big swath of time potentially. But speaking of that, yeah, playing the harp boy, being Mr. Harp Boy, they say that it's not a harp, but it's a lyre. And this is harpspectrum.org, exploring
good.
the world of the harp, which is amazing.
I love that.
It gets really in depth, like very, very in depth to a point where I think only Jace could understand this. Like even with my, not very good, I'm
You had a
not
music
particularly.
education.
Yes, I had a music education, but you're like super, super good at theory and I'm not. But it's basically saying, yeah, so the E on the harp is the tonic of everything. And this says that, okay, David and others probably played single notes, simple intervals, and arpeggiated chords to accompany their singing, as the vocal melodies were very transparent as well as harmonic in their structure. When they echoed from the walls of the chamber or courtyard where they were performed, they produced clear intervals and even triads.
Okay. All right, calm down.
No, I was into that. I was
Of course,
with you.
you are into it. Of course,
No,
of all
and
people
honestly,
on this podcast.
I'll send this to you, Jace, because that was like the really like very little to how crazy and wacky it got in terms of like musical stuff. I could not follow along, but that stuff I was like, okay, I hear what they're saying.
But they were
so
pretty
I
sure
guess
it was a liar.
They were pretty sure it was a liar. There
Okay.
is a Lyre from Ancient Palestine picture on here, which is pretty fun. I want to maybe put this somewhere on the Instagram or something because it's very pretty and cute. But yeah, they said that it's a kinnor, Kinnor, translated harp in the King James version of the Bible. It was not a harp at all, but a lyre. The other string instrument David played, Neville, translated palustry by the King James version, was likewise not a palustry and may not have been a true harp either.
I don't know what any of those words mean.
It said the Kinnor had 10 strings, the Neville had 12.
No. Repeating is not going to help.
No,
I
wait,
just
okay,
wanted to
wait,
know what an old ass harp looked like. That's all I cared about when I asked that question.
Well, I can't describe it to you. I mean, I probably could, but it doesn't look like what an actual harp looks like right now. At least this lyre from Ancient Palestine certainly doesn't. So it's like a rectangular or trapezoidal sound box with two curved arms of unequal length joined by a cross bar. It was played with the fingers or with a plectrum. Plectrum?
Plectrum.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
peck.
If I Google
peck,
Psaltery, it kind of looks like a Toblerone.
What?
Yeah.
Like the chocolate? What?
Like a square of a Toblerone. It's that shape, like this super pointy little triangle shape.
Yeah.
But it's got some strings run across it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cute. I'm excited to put it up somewhere when we have our next podcast of, I don't know, drunk music theory history.
Oh my gosh.
Old-ass harps.
Jace will host that alone.
God, here we go.
I've been waiting for the next podcast idea and drunk music theory study, drunk music history study,
boy.
all that is great.
Yeah, he's excited about it. I'll be sure to listen so that then my music history and theory can get better. Okay, that's all I got. How about you two?
Okay, so I was looking into, I know that we were given great pause in reading when all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, and Yahweh sent evil spirits on Saul and he was plagued by them. We're like, wait, what? What? So if you recall, Saul would be accosted by these evil spirits.
Saul.
Saul was accosted by these evil spirits, and then David would come and play, and he would feel a lot better, and the evil spirit would go away. But the important piece of information being that, like, they specifically lays out that they came from Yahweh.
Right.
And so
the evil spirits
this.
came from Yahweh?
Yes, and so that, like, on the internet, there's definitely a lot of people who are like, wait, what? Yahweh sending out evil spirits now? Like, what's that all about?
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Now, there's the one interpretation where some people say this is maybe a translation thing, and instead of it being a straight up evil spirit like a ghost or something or a demon, it's actually just a mood. You know, like maybe Saul went through depression.
Would you say it's
or
a big
guilt.
mood?
I would say it's a big
totally
mood.
big mood. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I kind of like that interpretation, and I was thinking about that when we first read it, that I like this idea of like, I mean, because to be honest, Samuel's just dumped Saul and has just told him like, hey, you're no longer divinely blessed, you messed up.
That is
and
a bummer. Yeah.
the idea of him wrestling with remorse, with guilt, imposter syndrome, like nutso butso, and, you know, trying to figure out where just, I don't know. Sounds like rough mental health days for Saul were in abundance, in addition to still being responsible for everything and everyone. And I like the idea of, you know, David being this good distraction and maybe meditative music and stuff like that. That's one interpretation.
You mean Samuel, not Saul?
You mean
What?
David, not Samuel.
Wait, no. That
What?
that the upset person was
Saul.
Samuel. Oh.
Well, I guess Samuel was also upset, but
Yeah, I
Samuel's
thought that
upset.
Samuel was upset because Saul was like not the chosen one.
Yes,
murder
yes, he was
everyone,
upset, but Saul was the one who got evil spirits sent upon him, and David came to him to be his harp player and armor bearer.
Cool.
Yes. Anyway, so there's the kind of, this is actually a mental health situation interpretation.
okay.
And then the other predominant interpretation I found was just the literal interpretation where they're like, yeah, Yahweh sent him evil spirits because he kind of deserved it. There's a lot of that I
Whoa.
find in biblical commentary. There's a lot of people being like, whoa, Yahweh did this really messed up thing to somebody. That seems really harsh and
they're
intense
like, no, it
for
was-
like a kind and loving God who supposedly is compassionate. And then scholars just being like, yeah, well, you know, they deserved it. So that's
Is he
why.
kind
It
and
just
loving
makes
yet?
sense.
Or is he only kind and loving when Jesus comes?
Literally, the
that's
only
a great
time we saw
question.
Yahweh be kind and loving was when Moses was trying to do that PR campaign for him. We have
Right.
not seen any hard evidence
True.
of Yahweh's actions being that kind or loving, other than, okay, I guess I will not destroy all of you in a fire this time.
I have been trying to think though in terms
Later,
of
though.
how they talk about Yahweh, and there have been some mentions of Yahweh being loving. That we have came across that a couple times, much
Are
less
you sure
than
that it
we've-
wasn't just Yahweh saying that about himself?
Okay, we've heard that much less than we've heard, fear Yahweh, but we have a few times heard mentions, not just that one time with Moses, about him being a loving God. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he didn't lean as hard into that sort of, that image, that messaging until maybe later on.
Not yet. I think the Christians have really done a lot of good PR work for God on the
the
compassion
loving.
front,
Right.
the loving front.
Yeah.
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 And that's what I got.
Cool.
So first I did look something up, but first I just had this random thought today about, so when we've been doing these live shows on Get Vocal, they have like different nights of the week. They have certain events that go on that are like themed things. And we're on Thursdays, which is their true crime night, which I'm not a big fan of true crime.
of Yahweh.
Like it's all like true crime podcasts and shows and whatever. And I'm like, I'm not a fan of true crime. But I was trying to think, like, is there some way that we could justify us being part of that lineup to, like, be part of their True Crime Thursdays?
You mean they don't have a Bible study Fridays or anything like that?
Not that I've seen, but maybe we could start it. What if we did? We would be the weird outlier on that
Yeah.
night of
Maybe it should
programming.
just be like drunk history or drunk whatever. Like
Just
the
drunk
drunk
shows.
podcast.
Just drunk night. Friday night. It's drunk night.
Yes,
Just all the drinking
exactly.
related shows.
There you go.
Wow. Okay, so what I did look up was, so we've gotten to David, who we've
Yes.
kind of previewed as a big deal, right? And then also we've been talking a lot recently of Jesse's line, "The Crown," which Emily
Yeah.
loves from that carol. Which was that again?
It is Aloha Rose.
Lo, how a rose ere blooming. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that whole Jesse's line, "The Crown," means that
Mm-hmm.
Jesus was a descendant of Jesse. And so is David. David is his son, right?
Yeah, so Jesus is a descendant of David. Another shepherd, right? Did he shep?
Who, Jesus?
Yeah.
It's
Or was
only
he a
metaphorically,
colonel?
really.
He didn't.
He was a
shep.
carpenter by trade.
Yeah.
He was a woodworker by trade.
Well, I thought like the Lord is my shepherd.
Well, that's from Psalms.
And that's
Okay.
And that's
which is
also
before
allegory.
Jesus came along.
Oh.
That's about the
Oh.
Lord Yahweh, not about the Lord Jesus.
That's
But
using
aren't they the
im-
same person?
Oh boy.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, now no, we won't go
You're
down
like,
that
I'm just
tangent
not going
quite
to answer
yet.
that question.
Just can't.
We won't go down
Just
that
can't.
tangent, but I will say that imagery of us being sheep and God being the shepherd, that comes up a lot
Uh-huh.
in Christianity, especially.
Yeah, that imagery. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the genealogy here. I just wanted to give us sort of like a part one, and obviously when we get to Jesus, we can do the rest of the genealogy. I mean, we will be forced to because two of the Gospels cover it.
Oh, really?
And their genealogies are both a little bit different from each other. Like they're identical in some places and they diverge in other places, which is interesting. And I think that'll be a fun discussion to have
Yeah,
once
why?
we're there. I mean, do you want to preview?
That is the question.
Should I preview it, or is that spoilers?
Sure.
I mean, it's
I'm not. We're not
most
going to read this
boring
for
of
a few years.
Yeah. Well, okay. So basically, both of their genealogies start with David, and then they go and they end up at Jesus. Well, they end up. Okay. Here's basically the deal: is that parts of it are the same, and then they diverge at parts. And there's like a bunch of theories as to why this might be. And there's some things of just saying like it's mistakes, that like there were errors in one of them, and scholars over the years who've been transcribing it have tried to fix it, and it's just been like mistakes on top of mistakes, and that's what happened. Other theories are about words being confused with each other. So there's this predominant theory that seems to be a popular one, where one of them is tracing the genealogy of Joseph, and then one is tracing the genealogy of Mary, and that's
that Joseph.
Yes, sorry, yes,
Not
Joseph,
amazing
Mary's
Technicolor.
husband. Yes, sorry, yeah,
Yes, not amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat Joseph. Okay.
No, not him. Yeah, so one theory is that one's tracing Mary's genealogy and the other is her husband Joseph. What hangs people up, though, is that Joseph is also on the one who's supposedly tracing Mary's family tree. Joseph is the last stop on that, and saying that he's the father of Jesus. And so it's like, wait, would that make Mary his daughter or his sister?
Yeah.
Like what? But there's a couple prevailing theories. One is that her father was also named Joseph, and so it's unrelated. It's just another Joseph. Or the other is that the word for one of the Hebrew words for father and one of the Hebrew words for spouse or husband can be confused with each other. And so it's possible
classic.
Joseph.
Convenient and convenient. Classic and convenient.
Yikes.
So it's possible that they were tracing the genealogy down to be like, oh, okay, so this then was her husband at the end.
Her husband, father.
Like a son's-man.
Her dad's-band.
A dad's-band, yes. But okay, I wanted to cover our genealogy up till now. So we have gotten this in bits and pieces, but to kind of backtrack here, if we go back to the beginning, and Luke goes over this once we get to that gospel, but basically we had this, he goes all the way back to Adam. And so
Whoa.
Adam had
Goodness.
one of Adam's sons was Seth. And then we had, I'm just going to go through this real fast, Enosh,
Oh boy.
Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah. So Methuselah's in the mix, which is fun. Lamech,
And Seth.
Noah. So Noah's in, but Noah has to be, right? Because everyone else died. So it's got to be part of Noah's family. Shem, Arphaxad, Cainan, Shelah, Eber, Peleg. You recognize some of these names? I recognize a few
I remember
of them.
Pegleg.
Yeah, I was like peg
Yeah.
leg.
Ryu from Street Fighter, Shirug, Nahor, Terah, and then Abraham. So that's Father
Okay.
Abraham had many sons.
Okay, hang on, Jace. How are you really going to go through this entire thing?
We're almost there.
Because
We've
I'm
almost caught up.
starting to get some eye twitches.
No, we're almost caught up. It's great. So we had Father Abraham, who had Isaac, and then Jacob. Emily? Jacob! Thank you. And then Judah, Perez Hilton, Hezron, Ram, Aminadab, one of our favorites.
The smallest
the mini
dab.
dab.
Smallest dab. Nashon, Salmon, Boaz, who was also the sister of Ruth.
Oh.
So, or the
No,
husband
yeah.
of
Husband.
Ruth. Yeah. So,
Jeez, you're really
Sister-
getting confusing
sister
with these
husbands.
family.
right.
Yeah. Or sispin.
Sister husband.
His sister wife, meaning it was his sister and
Yeah.
his wife. No,
Exactly.
so she's up in this family tree too, right? She's a ancestor of David, and then we had Obed, Jesse of Jesse's line, the David, and that's where we are now. So I just thought it was fun to
Wow.
kind of revisit like memories of where we've been on this.
Wait,
path.
okay, hang on. So
Many
it goes from
dabs and
Obed.
Jacob. Yes.
It goes from Obed straight to Jesse.
Yeah,
So
according to
Ruth
what I found
is
here.
David's great grandmother.
Yes,
Okay.
great
So
grandmother.
really, this whole book, meaning the Bible, is just one big story about one big ass family.
Yeah, kind of. You could kind of make that argument.
We've been making the 100 Years of Solitude reference for a long
Exactly.
time now, and it holds up.
I have not
actually.
read that book. I need to.
Clearly,
Yes.
that's part
Yeah,
of your
well-
part of your study for Drunk Bible Study is reading 100 Years of Solitude.
Aren't I reading enough? Yes, I know. Goodness. All right, well, that's fun. Cool.
Yeah.
Jesse's laying the crown eventually becomes Jesus Croesus.
Yep.
Correct.
Correct.
100% correct.
Exactly. Jesus H. William Croesus Christ. That's his full name.
Lovely.
All right.
Okay, well, we're excited to bring you episode 102 coming up next, and we will see you then.